Welcome to the episode 35 summary of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. And hey, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment to support us. Today, we are putting on our detective hats to investigate one of literature's most baffling mysteries, the unsigned letter from James Joyce's famously difficult book, Finnegans Wake.
So let's just dive right into this literary crime scene. We're going to approach this not as scholars, but as investigators. And the central puzzle is a real head-scratcher. How do you solve a case where the main piece of evidence has no signature, no clear motive, and seems to change its story every time you look at it?
Okay, so every investigation has to start with the evidence. In our case, it's a single, mysterious document, a letter. But, as we're about to see, this is far from a clean piece of evidence. It's messy.
Yeah, this thing was literally dug out of a garbage dump, soiled and stained. It is a complete mess. But you know what they say, for a good detective, even a mess is full of clues. So our first step has to be a forensic analysis of the physical object itself.
All right, let's put on our gloves and get a closer look at this thing. The first clue comes from the material the letter is actually written on. And believe it or not, this tells us a lot about the potential state of the author. This is where it gets really cool. The text itself does this kind of Sherlock Holmes-style investigation, looking for tiny little giveaways. The paper itself is what the French call papier buvard, or drinking paper. It's basically blotting paper. Right away, this hints that our writer might have been a drinker, or maybe the page was just damp, but the clues definitely don't stop there. Now let's look at maybe the most famous clue of all, the tea stain. It's found at the terminal, which is just a fancy word for the end of the letter. This suggests it was probably written during tea time. But think about it. In a letter with no other signature, could this stain be the author's unique mark? A little personal touch left behind? And what about that missing signature? Well, turns out that's not an oversight. It's another clue. The text points out that after the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, people actually made a habit of not signing letters for political reasons. The book argues that the writer's style, every word, every pen stroke, is the true signature, making a formal one totally unnecessary. So get this, the style is the signature. That's a crucial point. But physical evidence, it can only take us so far. The investigation has to go deeper, right into the mind of the author. So when forensics hits a wall, the investigation turns to psychology. The book brings in what it playfully calls the grisly old psychos, which is a great little job at psychoanalysts. They analyze the handwriting, and what they find is a mind completely divided. They say that even if one hand wrote it, the minds behind it were a mix of the active, calm, deliberate thought and the agitated, total chaos. And with that psychological lens, oh boy, the text dives deep. We're talking full-blown Freudian analysis. The analysts start seeing hints of forbidden desires, hidden traumas. They're looking at innocent words through what the book calls a pudendoscope, basically a lens for finding sexual subtext everywhere. Even the word father becomes this huge psychological symbol. All of a sudden, this letter isn't just a letter anymore. It's a confession. But just when you think you've cracked the psychological motive, the investigation pivots. Again, what if the letter isn't personal at all? What if it's a political code? And get this, the book literally gives us a key to decipher it. Look at this table. The characters are totally transformed into political symbols. Father Michael isn't a person. He's the old regime. Maggie becomes the social revolution. Even the innocent-sounding cakes are reinterpreted as party funds. And this just brilliantly illustrates another whole layer of meaning. The letter, which we thought was a personal document, now reads like some kind of dispatch from the Russian Civil War, with its white terror and red time. It's no longer just about one person's psyche. It's about the dead hand of history shaping everything. So, let's recap. We have forensic clues, a deep psychological profile, and a political code. So, which one is correct? What is the final verdict in this case? After all these competing theories, forensic, psychological, political, the investigation forces us to face the central problem. With so many ways to read this thing, what is the real story behind the letter? And this is where the book delivers a stunning, game-changing conclusion. It's not an answer. It's a realization about the evidence itself.
The text explains that the core problem is that, quote, every person, place, and thing was moving and changing every part of the time.
And that's the ultimate takeaway. The ink, the paper, the meaning of the words, the writer's mind, nothing is stable. It's like trying to solve a crime where the fingerprints keep rearranging themselves. The letter is a living document in a chaosmos of shifting meaning. So the verdict is? There is no single verdict.
So we're left not with confusion, but with this really profound idea. Maybe the value isn't in finding one single answer. Maybe the real value is just having this chaotic, beautiful text to puzzle over in the first place. And that leads to the ultimate question about this letter, and maybe about all art.
So is the ultimate meaning found in the text, or is it found in our act of investigating it? In the end, Finnegans Wake seems to suggest that the search for meaning is the meaning. The puzzle was never meant to be solved, but to be endlessly and wonderfully explored.